coming up next. Stay tuned to learn more about student interest in blockchain technology. Reimagine 2020.
Hello and welcome back to Reimagine 2020. My name is Tyler Olsson. I'm the University Program Director here at MouseBelt. We have Roshan here with us too, and we have a special guest with us, Rachel Siegel. You've probably seen her on Twitter. She goes by Crypto Finally. I'm really happy to have Rachel here with us for a couple of reasons. One, it's great to meet somebody that you in a sense know, but they don't know you, seeing them on your Twitter feed all the time. Two, it's nice to have another woman appear on this content stream. And third, I think it will be nice to have a little discussion framed around what the crypto community is like. You know, we've been talking with students, kind of what their experience has been like at university with the lack of education around blockchain and crypto. And we've been talking with industry partners, having some technical discussion and talking about business. But now we have the chance to talk a little bit more about what the community is like and what it's like to be a content creator in the community and sort of what a content creator's role is. Rachel, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to be here with you. And it is nice to get to actually see your faces, as I have known you on Twitter for a little while. And it's great. I would love to jump into some of these topics. I think it's awesome that you want to focus on the concept of the community right now, because I think that needs to be talked about more.
For sure. So maybe to get us there, let's just back it up a bit. You know, one thing that I've noticed as I get more involved in this space and go further on down that rabbit hole is there's a lot of different people here. And I think that that's in large part because there's a lot of sort of moving parts and a lot of different things that might draw you in. For example, you have people that are, you know, very economically and politically oriented, and they have sort of philosophical values tied into what they think's going on here. You have people that are just interested in, you know, making a lot of money. You have people that want to geek out on the tech, etc. What is your background? How did you come to find the crypto sphere, if you will?
So I have a mainstream production background. I used to work for the Blue Man Group for a long time. I'm in a Blue Man Group music video. I've done a lot of really weird, wacky things. Cryptocurrency isn't my first. So I come from that sort of background. I had friends who were also from a mainstream production background. They worked commercial out in LA. I did more theater. I did some freelance commercial companies like HPE, Weight Watchers, Broadway shows, Lion King, Wicked, stuff like that was really what I was focusing on. And at random, they flew out from LA to New York and we met up and they were here for Consensus. So they brought me to some of the networking parties that were happening after Consensus. And that was the first time that I really got to know the community. And that was it for me. I was ready to get involved in cryptocurrency. And I started by working with what they had at the time was another YouTube channel where we made educational blockchain content. And then a few months into that, some things happened with that face of our channel and altcoin buzz. I don't want to get too far, but anyway, I had to rebrand to Crypto Finally. And here I am today. So that's basically my story. So I was involved in the crypto space prior to Crypto Finally. So people who go on my Twitter and go like a screen cap, September 2018, like that's not exactly the story. September 2018 is when I claimed the handle Crypto Finally. But But that's more or less how I got involved, from real friends in the real world, not from looking into cryptocurrency. And I talk about this a lot, and exposure to people who might not already be involved. So demographic expansion, like there were very few ways for me to learn about cryptocurrency, or that it was accessible outside really knowing someone in my real life.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it's really kind of just the luck of the draw, having a friend or some sort of acquaintance that has heard of it or is interested in it. And I guess in a lot of ways, it's wrong to say that that's luck, right? Because sort of you take an interest in certain types of people because you share the same values. So I guess you would eventually come across it if your friends have it. But yeah, it's a good point to show that you don't have to just be wholeheartedly committed to going down an internet rabbit hole. You just have to be open to having those conversations when they sort of come up naturally.
Yeah, and I would second that thought as well by saying that I had heard of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin prior to me meeting up with them and going to Consensus. It wasn't the first time I'd ever heard of it. However, the story that I had been sold was, it's going to be too difficult for me to get involved. I am not smart enough to figure out how to buy Bitcoin, and that's really what was portrayed to me. And that's what I thought. If I don't have these advanced technical skills, how in the world am I going to own Bitcoin? So I did know about it way prior to my involvement in the space. I just didn't realize that it was accessible. And so that's something that I try to tackle now, is that accessibility issue, because it is pretty easy to do, but we do tend to complicate the space with complicated jargon, technical language, and it really does limit the amount of people who get involved. Like, I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, I want to get in on this nerd money. Like, this looks cool. But then just being like, no way, no how. It felt like time traveling, someone's going to do it, but it won't be me. And so I think that's sort of an important thing to think about. I categorize people into three sections. One, they've never heard of cryptocurrency before. Two, they've heard of cryptocurrency and it's too hard to use. Three, they just think it's a scam. And those three types of people pretty much fill everyone who's not using crypto right now. They don't know about it, they can't get involved, or they don't believe in it. And that's it. It's just those three people. And so if we can really attack the people who don't know, and the people, not like attack, but if we can focus on the people who don't know and the people who think it's too hard, I really do think there can be a lot of positive growth. And that's just was my experience as well, So I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are still on the bottom of that curve thinking there's no way to get involved.
Yeah, as I was mentioning before off the recording, I was talking to the Coin Bros the other day, and one of the things that was brought up in our discussion was their role as content creators, and why it's important that they, as rappers who are rapping about memes within a very niche community, it's important that they portray themselves as they do, because it reaches out to people who it might not otherwise seem accessible to, right? So it's like, oh, hey, look at us. We're rappers and, we're buying the fucking dip. I bet you could do that too. Do you feel that that's your role as a content creator? Something similar?
I mean, I think that it's important to say that, cryptocurrency is so new. It's such a new industry. It hasn't been corporatized yet, in the sense that we really can be who we want to be and still be heavily involved in Bitcoin, which is interesting. We're not all wearing suits. We're not in that demographic of people anymore. Finance itself is sort of changing when it comes to the people who are getting involved in the respect of cryptocurrency. So I do believe it's important at this time that people represent themselves as is, because we have so much room for something really interesting here, which is really giving power back to the people, and saying that anybody can do this. And if we are going to say that anybody can do this, then more people do need to be represented. So I think that what they're doing is actually a really righteous cause. They're getting out there, they're being themselves, they're creating the art that they always would have created outside of the cryptocurrency space, and bringing a skill set that people don't have here to this industry. And I think that that's really going to be the main focus when we talk about getting those other people involved. It's what can they bring that we don't have? Because we're not all one-man armies, you know, the same way that I'm not like amazing at math and TA, most people in the space aren't amazing at, you know, social situations. And that's something to think about. And it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's not to say that I have a better skill set than you do. Having the different skill sets is so important, and they need to merge for there to be an evolution.
Right. What sort of skill sets do you think we are currently lacking? What do you think it is in need of right now?
I think there needs to be not only diversification of the people in this space, but, you know, the way that we think. I think that if we can see people come from different backgrounds, you know, I don't want to see so many people like I love the developers, obviously, and I always try not to trip over this statement, which is that the tech comes first. It's so incredibly important, obviously. The technology needs to come first. We can't build anything without the tech. Then comes the UI and the UX, equally as important at this point. At this stage, once the tech is built, the UI and the UX are going to be important. And then it comes down to the distribution. Right now, we're really distributing to the people who are already involved in the tech and the UX. You know, we're not distributing to people who are outside that group. So we need to find a way to bring cryptocurrency to people who might not necessarily be a developer. They might not be coding. They might not understand what we're talking about in the echo chamber that we have right now when it comes to, you know, technical analysis and stuff like that. In my opinion, I think that there just needs to be outside options and easier options. The space that's been built on fundamentalists trying to live out the white paper has been proven a space that everyone can't get involved in. And I hate to put it that way, and I know that it's controversial, but at the heart of things change, and Bitcoin lives and breathes on its own. Bitcoin can't be told what to do, and Bitcoin doesn't care what the white paper said. So anyway, that's just my point. It's a social structure at this point, and the way that we grow as a space is going to matter. It's going to matter what we do.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of the conversations I find myself getting into revolve around making usability accessible, right? And this is why I think, you know, I think there's good reason to be bullish on platforms, you know, like Ethereum and these other third generation protocols, because they are really making an effort to be versatile enough to, you know, allow developers to build really interesting applications which make the user experience a lot more seamless, right? Mm-hmm. And so I definitely agree with your point there that we need to be doing whatever we can to make this more accessible to people outside of the community, right? We can't just be tailoring to ourselves. And I think that in large part is going to come by making the user interfaces much more simple, much simpler.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not everybody can cross that bridge, and it's an unfair expectation to think that, you know, mass adoption and global adoption, that everybody's just going to learn this language. It's not necessarily true, and there needs to be a midpoint. You know, look at things like Venmo and PayPal and their success and their general ease of use, you know, especially for a younger generation. So I think that Bitcoin's really the next big round of, you know, changing the way that we use money.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you say that you know, Bitcoin is changing money. I think this whole industry has a lot of other different types of change, especially the demographic of people involved. You know, the way I always see it is the traditional tech scene has a lot of tech bros, and you know, it's heavily male dominated, and that affects a lot of things at the higher level. You know, who makes decisions, different types of opportunities, and so on. So it's really great to see in crypto that that barrier has sort of been broken. So what's sort of been your experience as a woman in the crypto sphere, as a leader, do you think things are changing? And yeah, in general, how has it been going for you?
I mean, I'm involved in crypto. I think that as a social space, so outside of the industry as a whole, when we're talking about the tech and we're talking about, opportunities, if I'm just talking about the social space, I think that there are a lot of hurdles that really do need to be tackled. When it just comes to the way that we view and think about women involved in cryptocurrency, and this really does break down to the general demographic expansion. And it's something that I've experienced, and we've spoken about it already now. I'm not a trader. I'm not a miner. I don't really want to read your white paper. And there are going to be more people like me, and there needs to be more people like me getting involved in the space for there to be an adaptation. But there is a strong push against that. And I'm not saying that all women don't want to read your white paper, but I am saying that just because I don't doesn't mean that we need to have a tweet storm about how I posted a selfie. You know what I mean? That's more my point. I've experienced a lot of negativity despite the fact that I don't think I've done something to necessarily elicit it. I know that people have feelings. I know that people have opinions, and that's okay by me. Have your opinions and do what you do. But I haven't scammed anybody. I haven't stolen anybody's money. I haven't shilled a product and gotten a bunch of cash for it. I never shilled tokens. I've been fairly blame-free in this space. However, somehow when I get attention and there's a photo of my woman self attached to it, we see an incredible storm of negativity. And I think that that's a larger social issue. I don't think it's as attached to me as some of the community believes it to be. I think that it has something to do with the way that we perceive ourselves and what we perceive as being okay and acceptable in the cryptocurrency community. And similar to what I said about the fundamentalists and the white paper, this is something that will need to evolve and change. We need to be able to see the community change before the community will change. And I just don't think that people are allowing that right now. There's a lot of great promotion for women. More women are getting involved every day. I do believe that. But as far as the mentality, the ideology, and the concept of women getting involved in the space, I think there needs to be a lot of development.
Yeah, and I think some of the reasons kind of for that pushback, I would say, is because a lot of the same demographics are so used to sort of having that same hierarchy of structure, whereas the crypto community and the industry, it's sort of more on a level playing field, so to speak, where anyone can sort of break in and create their own voice and name. So do you think there's more opportunity, not specifically just for women itself, but, what would you kind of say to our audience out there about the different types of opportunities available that might not really be available in the same sort of traditional tech world, so to speak? Do you think it's sort of different? Like, for example, I was even reading that a study shows that women are actually more inclined to like buy Bitcoin or invest, for a variety of different reasons. So this whole space is not just, about money and different things like that. I think there's a lot of different other constructs, like you mentioned, like you need to understand philosophy, different social constructs of community, including like what is money, different things like that. So do you sort of feel that affects the opportunities, I guess, because traditionally we just talk about the tech and everything else is sort of organized hierarchically. But here, I would say it's a little more open-ended.
I mean, I would say that there are opportunities similar to what's happening in the cryptocurrency space and other domains. They are just, what's funny is I'm sure that this is how all emerging technologies have begun. There has been a certain subsector of the community who's built the technology, and then there's joined in other people who offer other skills and help to elaborate on that space. And I do think that there is a little more opportunity at this point in time for the fact that it's so new and we're all just getting involved and jumping on right now. But I do think that that sort of opportunity in an instance like this, in comparison to traditional finance, I think it really does matter, because you're right. You know, there haven't been content creators, you know, like a JP Morgan doesn't have a content creator talking about like why you should get their banker. That's not really the way that they view it. But it does make a difference in this space, because what we're doing is giving power back to individuals. And so those are the people that we're targeting. When we're talking about financial freedom, when we're talking about Bitcoin and how it can actually help people, we are talking to everyday people and trying to get them involved. It's not, you know, we don't have a banking structure. People don't know like, okay, I'm gonna like turn 16 and like go make my own bank account, because that's what people do, you know. So it's just a different space that needs a little more elaboration. And so there is a lot of room in aspects of education and aspects of creation, and just being able to teach people about what's going on here.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for giving your thoughts on, you know, sort of those trends and opportunities that are available. And I definitely agree, you know, traditional companies don't have those sort of same opportunities, so to speak, and they're not really connected to community in the same way. So, you know, you've spoken a lot about your ideas on sort of things that you would like to see be changed, you know, whether it's more positivity for women, or whether it's more different types of demographic groups being you know, involved in the industry, because this industry really is for anybody that wants to learn. How would you say you would want to reimagine 2020, so to speak? You know, what are some of the trends that you see changing, you know, just in general? And what are some specific items that you think that you'd like to see that would sort of help the industry in general, you know, whether it's community or something like that, sort of move forward and break the barriers? Because I think there's always different types of barriers at, you know, different phases. And I think we're in a new phase of crypto. So yeah, what do you think about that?
I'm always looking forward to decentralized social media applications, a social media that's built on blockchain platforms. And that would be a really big door opener, in my opinion, looking forward to 2020. So I believe that these platforms are really wonderful door openers when it comes to cryptocurrency, i.e. new users don't need to buy cryptocurrency. They can earn it through their blog posts and monetization angles. And it's a good way to learn about it in the first place, but it's also a great way to get yourself involved in blockchain technology. And the concept behind it, I think, is so good, because you're not really concerning the user with the fact that it's on the blockchain. All they know is that they're using social media, similarly to how they've always used social media. It's the same idea of a product. So they know what it is, they understand it. Only the difference is they can make money off of it. And I think especially now during the pandemic stages, like what people are being told to stay home, I think that the idea of making money at home and the idea of utilizing blockchain technology could be really big in 2020. And that's something that I would really like to see take off. And I think it would do a lot for our space from a community angle. You know, to some degree, we do become an echo chamber talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but it would be great to have like normal people posting on decentralized platforms and get to actually bring that content there. There are a lot of tech censorship issues with YouTube. I'm loving seeing that get solved. I'm loving seeing the wave of people getting involved with a library right now. And I think library is a great resource. So just getting more people involved in stuff like that, I would hope to see that coming in the finishing of this year. And I would say that it would probably make a big difference. Will it happen? Would I like it? Yep.
Yeah, you know, I definitely agree. And I think we have a huge opportunity on our hands here with the strangeness of 2020 so far. I think that the blockchain industry, cryptocurrencies, really are going to do a lot to help us restructure society in the ways that we communicate with each other. And you know, open source platforms is a key to that, because as you had mentioned earlier, as long as we're sort of integrating the right values and sort of we have the right concerns in mind. These are the kinds of platforms which are going to enable the changes that we want and must make. I was talking with some people the other day about how open source, permissionless, decentralized networks aren't valuable insofar as they enable the individual to do whatever they want, right? They're valuable because they allow you to act freely on the basis of what should be a sort of more primary concern for the other, right? So this has nothing to do with us being able to do whatever the hell we want, right? And it has everything to do with being able to move freely within the world, but that has to be sort of steered by a moral compass, right? And that starts by taking a consideration for the other. So I definitely
and I think that what we really bring with blockchain technology to a common consumer is that trust and transparency. So I think you're completely right when you're talking about that moral code. We provide transparency that hasn't existed in the past, especially when it comes to concepts like earning money online.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rachel Siegel, Crypto Finally, you can find her on Twitter. Your handle?
At Crypto Finally.
At Crypto Finally. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if that was just the name that appeared and it was some other handle.
No, it's at Crypto Finally. That is correct.
At Crypto Finally. Yeah, thanks again for taking some time to hop on and chat with us and help us reimagine 2020. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Stay tuned to learn more about student interest in blockchain technology. Reimagine 2020.